You're sitting in class right now, or maybe you remember those years vividly, and every teacher, every parent, every voice of authority keeps hammering the same message into your skull. Be smart, get good grades, ace those tests, because that's your ticket to success. This ticket they keep mentioning comes with a price nobody bothers to print on the stub. The price gets paid in pieces of yourself you don't even know you're losing until years later when you wake up and realize something fundamental has been carved out of you. What they carved out was your ability to trust yourself, to move without permission, to want something simply because your heart pulls you toward that thing with a force that needs no explanation or justification. The system doesn't want you to know this truth because the moment you understand what being smart actually costs, you might stop playing the game they need you to play. They need your compliance wrapped in the pretty package of ambition, your obedience disguised as excellence, your fear of failure masquerading as dedication to success. Throughout this exploration, you'll discover the hidden price tag attached to intelligence that nobody discusses in those parent-teacher conferences. You'll see how the smartest students often become the most paralyzed adults, frozen by their own ability to see every possible outcome. You'll understand why Einstein himself warned against the very type of education we're all forced through, and you'll learn what schools systematically strip away from you while convincing you they're building you up into something better. Think about the last time you had a truly spontaneous moment where you acted without weighing the consequences, without running simulations in your head, and without asking yourself what the smart choice would be. That absence of self-trust, that gap where your instinct used to live, reveals the first casualty of your education. Your self-trust died the day you learned that every action requires approval, every impulse must pass inspection, every desire needs to justify its existence before a panel of internal judges. These judges sit in your mind now, a permanent court that convenes the moment any wild idea enters your consciousness. The head judge always asks the same question: is this the smart thing to do? That question sounds reasonable until you realize it's killed more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. Dreams don't survive interrogation because they can't defend themselves with logic, can't produce evidence of guaranteed success, can't promise that the risk will equal the reward in some neat mathematical formula. Schools spent years training you to raise your hand before speaking, to ask permission before moving, to wait for the bell before transitioning from one activity to another. This training didn't end when you walked across that graduation stage. That conditioning became your operating system, the background program running every moment of your life, routing every impulse through the same protocol: pause, analyze, calculate, decide. The pause becomes a prison because while you're pausing, life is moving. While you're analyzing, opportunities are closing. While you're calculating, someone else is already doing the thing you're still thinking about doing. Watch what happens in the real world outside those classroom walls. The kid who barely passed his classes opens a restaurant because he loves the way food brings people to the same table. He doesn't know about market penetration strategies or competitive analysis or demographic targeting. He just knows that cooking makes him feel alive, so he follows that feeling the way a river follows gravity, naturally and without questioning the wisdom of flowing downhill. 3 years pass and he's running 2 locations while you're still researching the optimal moment to start your side project, still gathering more information, still waiting for the confidence that never arrives because confidence doesn't come from knowing more. Confidence comes from doing, from moving, from making mistakes and discovering that mistakes don't kill you the way your teachers implied they would with their red pens and disappointed faces. But you never learned this lesson because school taught you the opposite lesson so thoroughly that the teaching became truth in your bones. School taught you that mistakes are failures, that failures go on your permanent record, that your permanent record determines your worth as a human being. So now you avoid mistakes the way people avoid poison, which means you avoid anything that carries the risk of being wrong. This avoidance keeps you safe in the smallest, saddest sense of that word. Safe from judgment, but also safe from growth. Safe from criticism, but also safe from experience. Safe from failure, but also safe from any success that requires you to step into the unknown territory where failure lives as a possibility. Einstein saw this trap more clearly than most because he nearly got caught in that trap himself during his school years. Teachers called him slow, unremarkable. a daydreamer who couldn't follow simple instructions. He hated the rigid structure that demanded memorization over curiosity, conformity over questioning, obedience over understanding. What saved him was his refusal to stop asking the questions that had no approved answers. Questions like what would happen if you could ride alongside a beam of light. That question doesn't appear on any standardized test, doesn't help your class ranking, serves no practical purpose according to every metric schools use to measure intelligence. Yet that impractical, weird, useless question changed how humanity understands reality itself. The question only emerged because Einstein kept the part of himself alive that schools try to kill, the part that wonders without purpose, that questions without agenda, that thinks in directions the curriculum doesn't map. Your schools rewarded the student who recites word for word the textbook definition of light, who stays inside the lines of established knowledge. Staying inside those lines becomes a habit that extends far beyond the classroom walls, far beyond the years you spend sitting at those desks. The habit of coloring inside the lines becomes the habit of living inside the lines, of thinking inside the lines, of dreaming inside the lines until you forget that the lines were always arbitrary, always movable, always optional. Original thinking that crosses those lines gets marked wrong, and being marked wrong hurts in ways that leave marks deeper than any red pen could reach. So you learn to keep your thinking safely contained, to edit your curiosity before it embarrasses you, to kill your wildest ideas before they can escape your mouth and expose you as someone who doesn't understand the rules. Understanding and following the rules becomes your identity, your value, your measure of intelligence, and this identity serves everyone except you. Walk into any corporate office and observe the smartest people from your school, the ones who collected perfect grades like trophies. They're sitting in cubicles with the cleanest desks, the most organized files, the perfect attendance records that mean they show up every day to a place that slowly drains the life from their eyes. You can see the drain happening in real time if you pay attention. Watch how they hesitate before opening their laptops each morning, carrying the weight of someone who made all the smart choices and still ended up in a life that feels wrong. They did everything right according to the formula: study hard, get good grades, secure a good job, and follow the path. The path led them exactly where it promised to lead them, which is why they feel so betrayed. Nobody told them that the destination would feel this empty, that success by every external measure could coexist with failure by every internal measure, that you can win the game and still lose yourself. The trap works perfectly because school taught you to search for the right answer, and searching for the right answer becomes your default mode of existence. Schools erased something precious from you during those years of molding you into a successful student. They erased your trust in your own instincts, your faith in your own knowing, your connection to the voice inside that needs no external validation. A child knows when hunger arrives in their belly, knows when their body needs to move, knows what games call to them, knows which other children they want as friends. Then school enters like a virus, rewriting their code line by line. A bell tells them when hunger is appropriate. A schedule dictates when their body can move. A curriculum decides what should interest them. A grading system defines what they are good at regardless of what they love. Year after year, layer after layer, the programming continues until that inner voice gets buried so deep that by adulthood, you can't even choose what to eat for dinner without consulting reviews and recommendations and nutritional databases, because trusting your own desire feels dangerous, feels wrong, and feels like the kind of mistake that leads to failure. The smartest person from your graduating class probably has multiple degrees now, can discuss complex theories, can solve problems that would make most people's heads hurt. Ask them what they actually want from their one precious life, and watch them struggle to answer because wanting isn't something you can study for in the library. Desire doesn't follow a syllabus. Your deepest longings don't care about your grade point average. Schools never taught them how to listen to themselves because schools were too busy teaching them to listen to everyone else, to external authority, to established wisdom, to the voices that supposedly know better. Einstein understood what most people miss entirely. He said that education is what remains after you've forgotten everything you learned in school. The man who revolutionized physics was telling you that true learning begins when school learning ends. You were never meant to be a storage container for other people's answers. You were meant to be a question mark walking through the world, open and curious and unafraid of not knowing. Schools tried to turn you into something finished and closed off. Don't let them complete that transformation. Your life is still being written, and the best chapters never come from being smart enough to avoid mistakes, but from being brave enough to make them.